Okay, we are live here at Frontline Arts. Say hi, everybody. Yay. So this is our whole exhibition. Of course, says hi. Oh my goodness. And Hugo, let me know if everything sounds okay. All right, so we have 5 people watching. Okay. So I'm Rachel Heberling. I'm going to do a little talk for general introductions, and then I'll be handing it over to a few others here. So here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks again for taking the time to attend this momentous occasion. We are here today to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Frontline Paper Veteran Program. I can't believe it's been 10 years. It's hard to believe that amount of time has passed and so many incredible things have been accomplished. Frontline Paper, initially Combat Paper New Jersey, was actually my introduction to this place. Literally walking in the door here as the studio manager in September of 2014, some of the very first people that I met were Dave and Walt and Eli and Kevin, and soon James, Jim, Nate, Frank, and so many more. And I immediately fell in love with the program. The raw reality, the passion, the late nights, the all-nighters at the studio, the brotherhood and the sisterhood. Hell, I even traded places with some trying to find the best house to couch surf in until I finally found a sublet above a pizza shop. And in some ways, I tangentially knew about this project way early on. I didn't put this together until later, but my graduate school classmate was Ash Kyrie at The Ohio State University. We used to explore the half-abandoned hallways of the defunct film school building we were in, doing post-apocalyptic trades of old film reels, bulbs, and speakers we'd found in the closets. And his MFA installation was very moving. Blown up black and white media photographs from Iraq and Afghanistan, wheat pasted to the wall that viewers were encouraged to peel off and leave remnants on the floor. And I remember Combat Paper and talking about bringing them to the university. This was back in 2009, 2011. And years later, when I applied to this job, that's how I remembered this place. Yeah, the Printmaking Center, Combat Paper. So this program has always been an essential part of this institution, and I could not be any more proud of us still being here, of us surviving and standing together from the mergers through the pandemic and becoming one as Frontline Arts and Frontline Paper, along with many of our other socially engaged arts programs. I have to also thank the many other executive directors before me who helped make this program happen and come to fruition in the first place. Our current staff working extra hard and always going the extra mile. Walt and Ron, you're always going late into the nights, as well as Mike, Lindsay, Camilla, Hugo, Jen, our new volunteer, Rachel, thank you so much. And our current amazing board, and Dave, who's been integral since the very beginning and hung this whole show, along with Eli. So besides our incredible staff and board, I also have to thank the funders who've really stuck by us, because we wouldn't be here at all right now. I don't know if y'all remember this time last year. It was pretty scary. So thanks to the New Jersey State Council on the Arts through CARES, CRF, and COVID Critical Needs grants, as well as the New Jersey Arts and Culture Recovery Fund, the Dodge Foundation, Hyden Watson, and ongoing support for Frontline Paper from the Rotary Foundation, Janssen, Church and Dwight, and many individual donors, and especially all those who have been booking our programs and have continued their membership recently. So thank you. We've also had strong supporters like Janice Haggerty from the beginning of the Merrill G. and Amita E. Hastings Foundation, who helped us even get the van. And the Garden State Impact 100 grant, we were one of their very first grantees. You'll be able to see on this wall next to me, all of you in the room, this was our big year, 2014. We also had a Wounded Warrior grant at the same time. So now the exciting news is I have 2 brand new funders to announce. One is literally out of left field from an amazing opportunity thanks to Talia Lugosi starring in and directing an incredible film called This Is Not a War Story. It stars many of the veterans right here in this room with us, and some who are sadly no longer with us. But if you haven't seen it, you absolutely must. I've never seen a better depiction of the raw power of this program bringing together a community through paper and print. It's been winning Best Picture awards left and right at all the film festivals across the country, and you'll have a chance to see it on HBO Max starting November 4th. So thanks to that incredible showing at Urban World in Chelsea the other week, thanks Walt and Ron for hauling stuff out there. Our organization caught the eye of Warner Media, and in a wild flurry of events, they selected us to apply for a $15,000 grant for our veteran program, which we worked very hard to do the past couple weeks. And it was just announced that we have been awarded the funds. So thank you, Warner Media, funded by the AT&T Foundation, as we can now embark on an incredible series of workshops at vet centers and other community orgs across New Jersey and beyond in 2022, with focus groups and training sessions for additional facilitators. And what gets better than that? Well, another brand new fund that I have right here next to me is the premiere of the 52 Reasons to Love a Vet, Artwork and Fund for Veterans Opportunities in Art and Art Education. This fund was created by Ella Rue after her son Justin returned from two tours that were in Iraq and Afghanistan, and she was appalled at how difficult it was for veterans to be treated for medical conditions. So she called together an incredible group of artists and illustrators, some quite famous, to create artwork specifically for a deck of cards, posters, and books, and immediately raised almost $50,000. This fund was housed by Hunterdon Healthcare Foundation for years, and they toured the collection and continued raising funds where they were doled out to help veterans with medical expenses. Dave Keefe is even a part of this collection, and I remember him working on that piece one of the first few months that I was here. So last fall and winter, during the scariest, most bleak part of the pandemic, Ella and her husband Bob Iett came to us wanting to give the funds and collection to our program. We were just hoping to survive at that point, so this was an incredible opportunity to carry it, that we wanted to carry it on and do it justice. So here we are, and I'm proud to announce today that for the next decade and beyond, we will, for another 10 plus years, we will be awarding scholarships to veterans. We'll have $4,000 a year for residencies, workshops, additions, whatever is best needed and proposed to serve our veterans in the arts. So thank you so much again, Ella and Bob, for this amazing opportunity. Any veteran who's interested will be able to fill out an inquiry form. Just go to the Frontline Paper page, the 52 Reasons to Love a Vet page. You can fill out that form and you will be the first to get that full application that will be out soon. So those were my exciting announcements. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dave Keefe, co-founder, veteran artist, and president of the board.
Thanks, Rachel. Before, I have to stand right here, right? Before I talk and give my remarks, I'd like to just take a moment, if we could just have a little bit of silence for Frank. You'll find Frank's work here, all over. His work is all over. Integral part of our community, so just a moment of silence for Frank Wagner. I think Frank was such an important part of this community for so many years. He was just the most compassionate, warm, loving, accepting person that I can remember. Has been part of this program since really the beginning. And it brings me just an incredible amount of emotion thinking Frank. And I was saying to Tara when we were hanging the show a couple days ago that I walk into this space and I just feel absolutely overwhelmed. Like I come into this space and it wasn't even hung. I mean, half the work was on the ground, and it's just overwhelming. The amount of the stories that are here, the love that is here. And Frank was such a big part of that. And he really embodied that. And so what I love about this show is that when I walk in, it hits you. It's overwhelming. There's just so much going on here. But most of these artists that you see on the wall actually don't identify as artists. Most of the work that you see here, that we pulled out of our archives, is participants from workshops that came in and never drew a stick figure. I mean, that's the kind of participant that we had in our workshops for the most part. Of course, there are a lot of artists and artwork on the wall, those that do identify as artists. But that speaks to this inclusivity that we have with our workshops. And that to me is just the power of what we've done for 10 years is this open door policy. Anybody can come in and sit at our table and participate with us and tell their story. It reminds me of, it doesn't remind me, there's a quote that I kind of live by, and something that I've really strived. I write about it, and it's something that I'm deeply trying to unpack every day, but it's something that's really core to what this has been for 10 years. And really the inception of Combat Paper in New Jersey, what became Frontline Paper, and that's this idea that, or it's this phrase, that you must know your neighbor before you begin to learn. And that phrase, it's a quote that's attributed to the Freirean thinking, Paulo Freire, educator, philosopher, Brazil. And the quote's not attributed to him directly, but it comes from this thinking that to make change, you must know the person next to you, that you must connect with the people around you, that you have to have a connection with humanity before anything happens, before progress, before forward thinking, before any type of movement forward, that you must know your neighbor, or at least begin to accept your neighbor before anything happens. That's a big part of what we've been doing for such a long time. And to me, it speaks to the process that we have, where you come into this setting and you're faced with someone right across the table or the room, and it's that space in between. What happens in that space right there in between? And it's this craft that we have, paper making and print making. And that action of deconstructing, reclaiming, communicating, that action actually opens up the possibility, potentiality for capacity to listen to someone else's story, to connect to the person next to you. To me, that is the core of what we've been doing for 10 years. And it's incredible we've been doing it for that long. And that's what this show represents for me, is that it's this really almost like a simple action. It's heavy, it's weighted action, but it's this just tearing, the cutting, the deconstruction of that trace object, that object that you can trace back to a particular time in your life, traumatic or intense, or a good experience. But you take that object, you break it down and put it back together in the presence of someone else, and it builds that capacity to connect. And that's this connective practice that we've been doing for so long at what was Combat Paper and J, and now Frontline Paper. And anybody can do it. I come in here and you see this work, and you'll see there's so many untitled anonymous pieces. It's like more than half are untitled anonymous pieces. Anybody can come in, anybody can participate and make art. And the inclusivity of that is really, to me, the power of the collective of what we've done for 10 years. It's this return to, it's the community that's important to us. It's that connection to the person next to you. That's what's important. And look at the work that's been made because of it. And this is like a drop in the bucket of work that's been made for 10 years, over the last 10 years. You know, ever since Eli and I sat down August 2011, but October 23rd, 2011, our first Sunday open workshop, that's what we celebrate as our birthday. That's actually today, October 23rd. The amount of work that's been made since that day for Combat Paper New Jersey and what became Frontline Paper is just, it's enormous. And it's an entire collective that we're extremely proud of. And we continue to push forward. I can't thank enough everybody that's been part of this community, this movement, this collective from that time. Every single person that has walked through these doors, every single person that we've encountered and worked with in all of the workshops across the country, every single one of them, I thank for being a part of it and helping to connect and tell that story. Because I think it's really important that before we even get to learning about something, before we even get to thinking about something, pushing forward with our progressive ideas or pushing forward humanity, you just turn to your neighbor and connect. And I think it's so important you strive to accept and know your neighbor before you begin to learn. So thank you all for being here. Thank you everyone online. This is incredible. It's an incredible moment. It's overwhelming. But I can't be up here without my partner in crime, Eli Wright.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn it over to you for a moment. Eli Wright, everybody.
I just want to say a couple of things really quick. Dave's always been much more skilled with the public speaking than me, but remembering back 10 years ago when we first opened our doors and nobody showed up. It was just me and Dave for the first couple of weeks. And, you know, sometimes it was a little demoralizing, but we knew if we just opened the doors and we were patient and we put the word out, people would show up. And to this day, people are still showing up. And I want to thank you all for showing up. For every one of the participants over the years who's shown up, who's taken these courageous steps to put their stories out there on this paper that they make from their own uniforms. You know, it's all about showing up. And the community, the civilian community who's always been there to support us, to show up in this public commons and share this space with us is incredibly important. It's at the core of what we do. So I just want to acknowledge that. And, you know, for a studio space like this, especially in this time when this pandemic and our political climate and our economic climate has been tearing us apart, the fabric of our culture has been really wearing thin. And a place like this that brings people together where we can kind of meet in the middle and engage in some of this critical dialogue that we need to be having now more than ever. I can't express enough gratitude for having a space like this that brings people together. And so thank you all for coming. That's about all I got to say. Stick around, take the work in. There is a story behind every single one of these pieces. And as Dave said, this is only the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more to this. And I thank you all for being here, and we invite you to ask questions, share these stories with us, and thank you.
So before I turn it over to Ella Rue, who's going to come up and give some remarks, I do want to thank some people in the room here, especially Rachel Everling, our executive director, everything she does for this place. It's incredible. The glue that keeps everything moving forward. Thank you, Rachel, for everything. Thank you to Ron and Jan, the core staff. Walt's not here and Jim's not here, but the core staff, the core community that comes every Sunday. Thank you guys for all your support, all your wisdom and expertise in these parental figures for us younger veterans that have come in and taken us under your wing. So thank you to that core group. It means a lot. It means a lot. And of course, thank you to Tara, back in the corner. Thank you, Tara. Tara, we don't get enough time to sit and talk and just talk about philosophy and everything that's gone into what we're doing, just the core foundation of the community building of this place. And I know, and you and I connect over that. And I just thank you for being a part of this community. It's such a huge, incredible artist as well. So thank you, Tara. Of course, I want to thank the board. Giannina's here. Thank you, Giannina. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Donna Moran. Tara, thank you for all your participation, your support, your wisdom, and everything on the board. It's, along with Rachel and the staff, it's this galvanized community that we have that's important. And so I appreciate everything that you've done over the last few years, and we're looking forward to, I know you just voted me in as president again, so I appreciate that. Thank you to the board. Of course, thank you to Sadie, my wife, to Cora, to Zella, to Luke Bear, wherever he's at, running around eating the snacks, Asher and Ryder, and my family, the biggest supporters of my life. So thank you for always being there. I appreciate it. And of course, last but not least, Kevin Basil. Thank you, Kevin, for being there, being one of the original facilitators. Our first time together, I think in Maine, working together, which is one of the best memories of my life. So thank you for everything, and just being everything important to a friendship, and also the best copy editor ever. Thank you, Kevin. All right, so with that, I am going to introduce Ella Rue. I met Ella, I think we were trying to figure this out in the summer of 2012, somewhere in there. And she came onto the board here, which is the Printmaking Center in New Jersey at the time. And Ella and I connected immediately. Her son, Justin, served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And there was this immediate connection to what we were doing here, trying to build community, and the love and support coming from Ella to this entire community who I'm going to go on a limb, which you thought were all your children, just because of the love you have for your own son. And I can't thank you enough for the support you've given and shown us throughout the years, just unwavering support. And then of course this gift, that's going to help us for the next 10 years. And, I just appreciate everything you've done for us for such a long time. So I'm going to introduce Ella Rue. Just come on up.
Good afternoon. I have a story to share with you today. This story is about my son, Justin. Dave mentioned him. Justin, at a young age, was bound and determined to join either the Army or the Army National Guard. This is not what I wanted for him, but this is what he had set his mind to doing, and Justin has always been one to forge his own way. In 2001, when the Twin Towers were attacked, Justin was only 13 years old. This sealed his decision and desire to serve. Upon graduating high school, he enrolled in the Army National Guard. This was when we were a country engaged in a full-blown war with Iraq. We knew that it would be inevitable that he would ultimately be deployed. So my son, at the tender age of 20, was sent overseas to fight in a war. War changes us all. Those who fight in the front lines suffer unspeakable changes, but no one is left untouched. He left behind a family who was deeply concerned for his safety. There were many holidays that he was not present. I only know a small portion of the horror that he witnessed. There are some things a mother probably shouldn't be privy to when it comes to their children, but I do know that when he came back with far more baggage than he or we had bargained for, inclusive of a diagnosis of PTSD. His story is different, yet very much the same as many others who have served our country during time of war. Upon Justin's return home, he had difficulty handling the baggage that was thrust upon him, and he also had difficulty coping and ultimately turned to abusing alcohol, and as a result, spent some time in intensive inpatient rehab. At some point, and we're not certain as to when, Justin was diagnosed with a blood condition called MRSA. MRSA is a highly contagious staph infection that is more difficult to treat than most infections because it's resistant to most commonly prescribed antibiotics. If left unattended, could result in death. While in rehab, he had a serious flare-up of MRSA. He was sent to the VA hospital for medical care. I eventually came to understand the VA covers everything related to his service, but nothing more. And being that Justin was National Guard, he was only considered active when he was either deployed or when he was serving his guard duty, 1 week in a month and 2 weeks a year. This flare-up also coincided with him turning 26 years old, when he was unceremoniously removed from my health insurance. On his 26th birthday, the VA hospital told Justin that they thought his flare-up was considered situational, and they recommended he not return to the rehab where he had contracted MRSA, but instead should find an inpatient private rehab that would accept him. They also could not ascertain that his diagnosis was service-related and therefore would no longer treat him without insurance. They turned him out, so we, of course, took him in. We knew no private rehab would accept someone with no insurance, but thankfully I had resources that I could call upon, and as any mom would do, I called in any and all favors necessary to ensure that my son would receive the best medical attention available. At that time, I served on the Board of Trustees at Raritan Valley Community College, and also on the board was Bob Wise, the then CEO and president of Hunterdon Healthcare. We were lucky that I had that resource, coupled with a complete and total lack of shame in making that call. Without hesitation or reservation, Bob Wise offered to have his top infectious disease specialist care for Justin. Shortly afterwards, Bob, my husband this time, and I were out to dinner with friends. Joe Ciardello is a world-renowned illustrator. You can see his work most weeks on the covers of books in the New York Times Book Review or in magazines across the country. I was explaining Justin's issues to Joe and Sue, and they reacted in much the same outrage as we felt. We strongly felt that our veterans deserve better, much better, when they return home. But then it occurred to me, what of all the other Justins who don't have a mother who knows the CEO of the local hospital? What are their options? Where do they go in their time of need? That evening, I woke up in the middle of the night with what seemed to be an epiphany. I have many incredible, talented friends who on a daily basis use their talents to communicate through their art. I did a call out to many of my friends explaining the situation and asking if they would be willing to create and donate one piece of art that would visually articulate their broad thoughts on either war or their specific thoughts on veterans. Those artists range from Gail Anderson, who was the art director for Rolling Stone for many years, to Mike Wimmer, who created the original art for the CD cover Disney Lion King, to a high school art teacher, Jimmy Wimmer, who was part of my cohort during my MFA, to political cartoonists Steve Brodner and Dennis Dietrich, a very dear friend and colleague of mine at the university where I work. Every single artist that I spoke to responded with a resounding yes. Not only did they say yes, but they felt honored to have their work included in this initiative. So from there, 52 Reasons to Love a Vet was born. The plan was to produce a deck of cards with each face card illustrated and each number card espousing facts and figures relative to veterans and wars. To sell the merchandise and have the proceeds help all the Justins who might need that help. I then approached Bob Wise at Hunterdon Healthcare again and asked if a fund could be created and housed in the Hunterdon Healthcare Foundation. I showed him the caliber of artists that were willing to participate. I explained my intent to raise funds and awareness for veterans. I chattered and blathered on incessantly as he smiled rather bemused. And once I paused to take a breath, Bob said, "Let's do this." So we did. Stephen Gardner, who illustrated the Ace of Spades, said, "When I chose the Ace of Spades, I knew I wanted to make a strong, dramatic statement. While I also think of the ace as the trump card, and I regard the nuclear threat as being the trump card in any war, a nuclear mushroom cloud is the last thing that any sane person would ever want to see. I kept the palette for the painting in a toxic yellow-green to add to the disturbing nature of the image." Victor Huaz, who created the illustration for the card box and to be used on the back of the card, said, "It was my intention to contribute in some small way to bringing awareness to the challenges facing our veterans, and in the process, hopefully raise some money for this fund. Having never served in the military, I saw this as an opportunity to give back. We cannot all be warriors, but we can and should contribute our talents whenever possible. Everyone involved in this project has done just that. The funds raised went directly to the Hunterdon Medical Center Foundation and were earmarked specifically for educational and health-related purposes, solely for the benefit of our veterans. When Bob Wise retired and new leadership took over in the hospital, we were informed that this particular fund was not broad enough to continue within the foundation's mission, as this fund was solely for veterans. They then asked us to find another organization that could take over overseeing and administering the fund. After speaking to my husband, Bob, we thought it would make the most sense to reach out to Dave, who also was one of the original artists, who is also a veteran, and who has also dedicated so much of his time, efforts, and life to assisting veterans. So today we turn the page, and I'm thrilled to say 52 Reasons to Love a Vet will continue to help veterans. Please enjoy the work. Please also know there are books, decks of cards, and signed prints available for sale. The proceeds of these sales are going forward will be earmarked to help veterans. Prior to our moving the fund, we intended to host a fundraising dinner in honor of Bob Wise's retirement. I wanted to honor him as well as Dave for all they have done for veterans. To that end, I asked one of the artists, Stephen Gardner, to create a special piece of art for each. My husband and I already presented the piece to Bob Wise, but I'm honored to finally present to Dave this gift. And please share with me in honoring Dave Q today.
Well wrapped.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
This is a surprise. I didn't see.
Thank you
Long
so
waited.
much.
You're welcome.
Wow. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ella, for that incredible gift and the amazing fund. And yes, we have the books and cards and prints available here. This whole exhibition, that's the wall and everything. This whole exhibition is up through November 30th. So anyone who couldn't make it today can come see it. And we'll be here during specific hours during the week, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays, and some Wednesdays and Fridays. So thank you so much. This is honestly really moving to just have our first in-person exhibition and reception. I have to say, this is the first one since the pandemic. We've been doing everything online, and this is just incredibly powerful and moving. It's so great to see you all in reality. So I'm going to stop talking to the screen soon. And and also we have little handouts that you can see around. We made 10-year anniversary Frontline Paper cards. I know that Dave and Eli and others are collaborating on some special work to celebrate. And for everyone who's here, there are snacks and beverages downstairs. So we're going to enjoy ourselves. And thank you, everyone online. Peg and Jim say hello. We have a hello from Massachusetts. And Liz Mitchell and Leah Kadia say congratulations to all. So thank you. We're going to end the stream. Bye, everybody. Thanks for attending.